Hello, everyone. Hope you are doing well. I am Sethatina Newman, and we are going to talk about a couple different topics today. As we've all seen on TikTok, X, the news in general, President Trump has been signing pretty much our lives away, at least in my opinion. I was surprised he doesn't have a brace on his hand for how many executive orders he has signed since coming into office 2.5 weeks ago. As of right now, he has signed 54 executive orders just in the first 2.5 weeks. Now, that is the most executive orders that have been signed in the first 100 days of any president. He hasn't signed the most executive orders yet. The most executive orders were actually signed by Ronald Reagan, where he signed 381 executive orders in his four-year term. His average annual was 48 executive orders. And actually, that was in an 8-year term. I forgot he had 2 terms. So President Donald Trump, the last time he was in, signed 220 over a 4-year term, 55 per year. So he has already not bypassed, one more away. And he will sign the same amount of executive orders in his first 2 weeks that he did annually the last time he was in the White House. My question is, does he not believe that the Republican Party, who backed him and who is in control of the Senate and the House, won't support him, that he feels he has to do these executive orders rather than going to his party and saying, hey, this is what I would like done. Let's figure out how we can get it done. Now, I understand that things take time with Congress. Okay, they have arguing, they have to revamp what they wrote because somebody doesn't agree with something. I get it. But the executive orders that President Trump is writing, do they have to be done right here, right now, or can they be done, legally? Can they be done to where they're not going against the Constitution? Many of his executive orders are being stopped or blocked until the Constitution can be monitored or evaluated by Supreme Courts in different states and the Supreme Court to determine if his executive orders are even constitutional. And if they're not constitutional, guess what? It's illegal. Okay. So how many of the executive orders that he has signed really aren't legal? I mean, we already found out that the Supreme Court has blocked his executive order to stop federal funds going to different organizations. He has already been blocked or stopped with the getting rid of the Constitution about birthright citizenship. So how many more are going to be blocked or stopped completely because they're not constitutional? They are not legal. Now, the president can't decide. The president can't be the one to change the Constitution. That's done by Congress. Our forefathers put that in place on purpose. We aren't a society, we aren't a nation where one person can make the decisions for the entire country. That's why we, as the American people, vote in representatives for us. Now, unfortunately, in past, we have found that some of those representatives don't necessarily represent us. They're looking for other reasons to get into politics. Unfortunately, that's been going on for a really long time. Now, if we can investigate those people, which some of them have been, and some of them are being questioned about why they have, a bank account so much higher than what they make annually. Okay, that's good. My issue with it is the fact that the investigation is being done by somebody who is not an investigator, who is not legally paid to do that. They're not a police officer. They're not a detective. They're not an accountant. They're not a financial investigator. He's a civilian businessman. Okay. That's not the person who should be investigating. Now, should a federal agent be investigating? No, I don't think that should be done either, because federal agents can easily be manipulated. They say everybody has a price. I'm hoping some of those prices will be neglected, will be terminated, will be put down, will be shot down, and more of our people will see what's going on, and that true investigations need to be completed. Our government, yes, I totally agree, has been corrupt for a very long time. In my presidential campaign, I said that investigating what was going on, where our money was going, was one of my number one priorities. Corruption is corruption, and it needs to stop at every level. That was one of my main objectives as a presidential candidate. But there's a way to do that. And having a civilian businessman doing that is not the way to do it. He's a businessman. He doesn't have the right, really. I'm a civilian. I have my own business. I don't have the right to go in and say, okay, let's look at A, B, and C. Why is this not working? That's why there are accountants. That's why there are investigators. That's why there are detectives. That's why there are people who are trained in these things, trained in these professions to do this kind of work. Is it great that corruption is being put out there and it's becoming transparent? Absolutely. But I don't agree with the way it's being done. That in itself, I believe, is unconstitutional. Elon Musk has no business going into anybody's financials. None. Like I said, he doesn't have the training. He has not been credentialed to do that. President Trump putting him in that position knows that he's not credentialed for that. That in itself goes against our American rights. Elon Musk has no right getting into the Treasury, getting into the data that is in the Treasury computers. So what? He's not going to use our Social Security numbers. So he says. I do want to believe that he's honest about that. But it doesn't matter. He should not have possession of any of that information to begin with. He is not credentialed to do that job. I would not want a dentist doing surgery on me unless it's oral surgery. I don't want him taking out my appendix. I don't want him doing heart surgery on me. Why are we going to let a civilian businessman into our federal treasury? Why are we going to let a civilian businessman into our all of a sudden I lost the word, into our military, into our federal funds? He doesn't have the credentials. That in itself should be illegal. Whether it is or not, that is for the Supreme Court to decide. Should the people that President Trump elects or nominates for his cabinet have some idea about what they're being nominated to do? Yes. Have we learned that President Trump doesn't really care about that? Yes, we have learned that. Okay. President Trump has gone in and decided that he is going to decide what is best for you and I. He has decided that he doesn't really care that 49% of the American public didn't vote for him. Okay, I'm one of those 49%. I voted for myself. I believed that I would be a better president than President Trump. I know that I wouldn't be breaking the laws by signing executive orders that go against the Constitution, that go against Americans' rights, that go against what the Supreme Court and Congress and House of Representatives have deemed as good and lawful for the American public. Do I agree with all the laws? No. But our representatives have passed those laws. The representatives that we put into office are the ones that pass or don't pass the laws. The president either signs or doesn't sign those laws. But as I've said in previous podcasts, when I was campaigning, whether the president vetoes that law or not, if Congress comes back with a majority vote again, that law passes. So the president is not supposed to have the power that President Trump is giving himself. He is not trusting the representatives that we voted into the House and Senate. The House and Senate, like I said, are controlled by the Republican Party. The Republican Party supported President Trump during campaigning. So why isn't he trusting the people who supported him during his campaign? Why is he not trusting that the Republican Party will support him now? I say it's because President Trump is now showing his true colors. Yes, he's doing everything he said he was going to during his campaign. On day one. Although He hasn't stopped the fighting between Ukraine and Russia, which he said he was going to do on day one. And he hasn't brought peace to the Middle East, as he said he was going to do on day one. But, he's changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, although I don't remember him saying that during his campaign. He is doing mass deportation, but is it only criminals, like he said he was going to do? There's a lot going on. There's a lot, I think, that I know the press is not telling us because they're not being allowed to tell us. President Trump has also demonstrated that if you disagree with him, he will shut you down. Or he will find a way to shut you down. The Associated Press, because they have not agreed to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America yet, they weren't allowed into a press conference. As they said, a report from the Associated Press that goes against the First Amendment. They can't tell the public what's going on because they're being suppressed. They're not being allowed in because they don't agree with President Trump. DEIs, President Trump signed an executive order to get rid of Executive Order 11246. I discussed this 2 weeks ago. 11246 was about equal employment at the federal level, federal companies, federal organizations and contractors that worked for the federal government. Okay. He's getting rid of that. Why? So that he can put in whoever he wants into those federal positions. How many federal employees have been fired or encouraged to leave with 8 months' pay? Hey, I can understand somebody taking that unless they want to stand up for their rights. Because unless they've done something wrong, I can't say that because Maryland is a no reason state. But at the federal level, I would want to know what I did to need to be fired. What did I do? Show me. You want to tell me what I did at the federal level? I need to know. If I have a clearance and I obtain that clearance through my job and I have done my job to the best of my ability, you need to show me why you're firing me or why I should take a leave and quit. If you're going to give me 8 months severance pay, obviously I'm not doing anything wrong. You just want to get rid of me. So you need to show me why. More of the employees need to think this way. If you're giving me a severance pay to leave, there's a reason. Why do you want to get rid of me? Do I not fit your mold? Guess what? If I can do the job, I don't need to fit your mold. This is what people need to remember and fight for. All these executive orders. A civilian businessman looking into our federal government, looking into our federal funds. People being fired or released or encouraged to leave with a severance pay. Why? These are the things that need to be investigated as well. You want to talk about corruption? Let's talk corruption. A man who has 34 accounts of breaking the law being hired at the top level, at the topmost level of the United States. Really? And yet he wants to get rid of corruption? Then he needs to fire himself, because that's corruption. As Americans, we need to stand against corruption at all levels, but especially at the level of our government. Elon Musk and Doge, they're going after specific people who are against Trump. If you look, all the congressmen, representatives, they're Democratic. I haven't seen any Republican representatives being investigated. Only the Democratic are being investigated. What does that tell you? Tells me that just like with DEI and getting rid of Executive Order 11246, he wants to get rid of people who go against him. Let's find anything we can against the people who don't agree with me. That does not make a good president. I'm sorry. That makes an authoritarian, a dictator, somebody who is like the Queen of Hearts. If you disagree with me, chop off their head. That doesn't work in the United States of America. That is not how our Constitution, our forefathers planned for our country. They didn't want a king anymore. So they made sure that the Constitution provided the rules, the outline, the guidance, so we don't have a king. It's time for Americans to maybe read over the Constitution, because you know what? Individuals who apply for citizenship, Elon Musk, should know some of this. They have to know a lot more than the average American person. Now, according to reports, Elon Musk became a citizen in 2002. So he should know much of the Constitution, because as an immigrant who becomes a citizen, you have to know a lot more. And the Constitution is not taught in schools. I mean, I'm 57. I don't remember hearing about the Constitution in my government class. We talked about the Civil War. We talked about the Revolutionary War. We talked about the World Wars, but we didn't really discuss the Constitution. Maybe it's time the American people read the Constitution of the United States. And I'm not talking about the part that has been rewritten so that we can understand it. I'm talking about going back to the original, we the people. Actually, that's not the Constitution. We need to go back to the original Constitution. The ones with the these and thous and however they spoke back in 1700s. Okay. It's difficult to understand, but it's important that we do, so that we can keep members in government honest and lawful, and keeping the American people in their sights and represent us based on that Constitution. I wonder how many of our representatives actually know the Constitution. That would be an interesting question to ask some of them. I know I seem to be going all over the place, but our news has been pretty much all over the place. So it's very hard to come up with just one topic to discuss. So I'm asking you to look at information brought to you from the news, brought to you by people on X. Just listen to them, whether you agree or don't agree. But then look up the information that they're giving you. What's true? What's not true? What's opinion? Make yourself the investigator as to what is truthful. Can we investigate the federal funds and where everything's going? Not unless we know, not unless we see it, not unless it's being presented to us. But at the same time, I can't always trust, and I know not to always trust, the news as it's presented to me. We've seen how the newscasters are told what they can present and what they cannot present. So how much of what we hear is true? How much is the government wanting us to only know what they want us to know? How much transparency really is there in the United States? Those are the areas that I bring to you. All of the followers that I have, I hope you keep following me. I hope that what I've been telling you and what I've been saying resonates with you. Whether you agree with me or don't agree with me, I encourage you to investigate yourself. I encourage you to investigate what's going on. I saw one time that somebody compared President Trump basically to chaos, a madman, because they like to make you think that they're crazy, because then you won't pay them a lot of attention. And that way they get to do what they want. Well, with 54 executive orders, putting Elon Musk in Doge, Elon Musk taking 5 early 20-somethings, one who hasn't even graduated college yet, to investigate all these finances. That's not just a crazy man, okay? That's somebody who's trying to hide things. Let's put all this crazy stuff in front of the American people so that they're busy on all of this, so I can do my stuff back here behind everybody's back, so that I can put people in positions who agree with me and only me, so that I can get everything into the United States that I want. It doesn't matter if it's good for the American people. If it's good for me, if it's good for my family, and if it's good for my friends, that's all that matters. And I'm sorry, but I truly believe that that's where President Trump's brain and heart are truly going. He's demonstrated that in the past. He demonstrates it with his business. He's demonstrated it with the firing. He's demonstrated it with the encouragement to leave federal jobs. Somebody has to work those federal jobs. Who is it going to be? It's not going to be anybody who is against him. I can guarantee it. He will not put anybody in place that will go against him. Thank you very much. I see that I've gone over my time. A lot for you to think about. I encourage you to do so. See you next time. Take care and stay safe.